SUI ecosystem updates, best airdrop targets, best places to park your liquidity and DeFi in general, and most promising testnets. Let's get started. First of all, let's take a look at our trusty DeFi Llama site. And as you know, SUI is one of the ecosystems we've been very vocal about for most of the year as being one of the best places for crypto in general. And May and April are very, very promising. While total value locked on DeFi in general is 100 billion, SUI is commanding a bigger and bigger share. Last time we covered it in April, it was just around 1 billion. Now it's already at 1.74 billion, and that is primarily due to SUI's price appreciation, which has almost doubled in value since we last covered it in mid-April. Today, we won't be focusing on the absolute top total value locked projects because most of those don't really have any airdrop incentives as well as most users. So even if they had some incentives, it will be very, very diluted. We will start our journey with Aftermath Finance and continue going down the list. Of course, the lower down the risk curve you go, the more risky it becomes. Kriya, for example, was an airdrop that, unlike most other SUI airdrops like DeepBook, Walrus, and others, it was slightly underwhelming. But again, this is always the balance you have to strike between how much risk you want to take and how much potential reward you're willing to get. Of course, if you're looking to get some other content on SUI, we've covered it many times on the channel before. All you have to do is just search for SUI on our website and you will find all the most relevant and updated information. Here, there's about 570 searches, but probably just last 6 months to see it is more than enough content. So what are the hottest SUI projects right now from Airdrop's perspective? When I was doing my research, I opened DeepBook last as it was one of the ones we've covered in the past, and I was really shocked to see that most of the stuff that I've single-handedly isolated before even looking at this website was actually included here. For example, 7K Aggregator is one of the good places to use limit orders, such is also Aftermath Finance. You can also use Hop Aggregator for kind of SUI jumper, if you will, and many others are actually included on this list. So DeepBook is the tech stack behind a lot of the technology on SUI, but it seems to be encompassing a lot of really, really good dApps. So let's start with Walrus. Walrus is, of course, one of the ways to secure data on SUI. It's a storage solution, SUI, and their token is performing actually really, really well. If you're planning to maybe speculate on some future Walrus airdrops, then probably it's a good idea to stake the Walrus tokens and get their LST coin Winter Walrus. You can also choose another Walrus alternatives, but probably best idea to just go with Winter Walrus, which is their official project. They only have about 1.78 million in total value locked, so not a lot of people are using it, but the token is performing really well over the last couple of days and weeks, so it could be a great idea to park some liquidity here. Now, on topic of staking, the most simple thing you can do with your SUI if you plan to hold mid to long term is to simply liquid stake them. And from all the liquid staking platforms, most of them already have a token such as Hadal, Scallop, and many others. However, Aftermath is still tokenless. They have about 34.5 million in total value locked, and at the moment APYs are nothing spectacular, 2.25%. However, if you want to speculate on airdrops, then this could be one of the better targets. And best of all, you can continue using recycling your SUI in other DeFi protocols such as Bucket, Scallop, Typus, and many, many others. And other than just liquid staking, they also have an earns tab where you can find some relatively okay yield, but nothing compared to the platforms we're going to be talking about in a second. They also have a swap, DCA, and limit order function, but if you're going to be using limit orders, it's probably a better idea to use it on some other platform to potentially qualify for other airdrops in the meantime. Another one you can use is also this Hop aggregator. This has a very weird website at the moment because there's this question marks. Hopefully this is going to be an airdrop tab very soon, but jokes aside, there's also 7K AG. This is the one that I've been using for limit orders in the past. But again, as always, you want to diversify your dApp usage for maximum airdrop potential. And if you want to be on top of your game, not just in the SUI ecosystem, which we have a dedicated channel for, but also all other airdrops actively being farmed right now, you definitely want to be a part of a private community of people who do airdrops as a full-time career. One such community is ours, and all information about this you can find out on the subscriptions page of our official website. Here you can find everything from monthly, yearly plans for Discord, as well as an airdrop tracking application. And all the links for everything are always in the first link of the description of every video. Finally, there's also an NFT collection generating you 10% a month in the token yield, and hopefully we're going to be back to stablecoin yield as well in the next coming months, hopefully as market recovers. Now, back to SUI. If you haven't used the ecosystem in a couple of weeks or months, maybe you will be surprised that your SUI wallet is now become a different brand name, but basically SUI wallet and Stashed are combined into the Miston Labs Slush wallet. So it is actually much better UI, much smoother user interface. You will find all the tokens, all the functions, and everything much more easier to use. So it's a very welcome change. Now let's take a look at a couple of DEXs on SUI that have the best yield and maybe even airdrop potential. Starting with Momentum DEX. They've achieved 1 billion in trading volume in just under a month, and for a very good reason. They're offering really competitive APRs, maybe some of the best I've seen on SUI for the tokens you actually want, such as SUI, USDC, Deep, Walrus, and many others. I made a test deposit yesterday, and at the moment APRs are holding both triple digits, and at the moment SUI USDC is actually performing even better than Deep SUI. But of course, as market evolves and weeks turn into months, it is very likely that Deep SUI will be more correlated than SUI USDC if you're feeling bullish on SUI. You can always also remember that you can concentrate your liquidity in the range you think the price of the token is going to perform. So if you think that SUI is going to be $5 or $6 in the future, you can always position your farms to be from, for example, $2 to $6. Currently, SUI is about 3.5. And when deciding if this is an underfarmed opportunity or not, we can look at some of the leaderboard statistics. So with just $300 swapped, I am ranked 58,000, but with liquidity of $569, I'm already ranked 2,700-ish. So if you want to park maybe a couple $100, you will probably be in the top 10,000, maybe even top 5,000 users. Now, another platform that is probably a lot more risky, but also much higher potential reward is Magma Finance. They're going to be a V3.3 DEX with voting, locking, and incentive campaigns. However, why I believe it's flying under the radar is because they don't have any kind of point system. It is only all of these website features are still being developed. Which means that, of course, if they're going to have a voting and locking system, they're also going to have a token in the future. So maybe using some of your liquidity on this platform is also a good idea. Unfortunately, most of the total value lock currently is coming from the SUI and liquid staked SUI. However, if you want to maybe go for some other more speculative pools, which offer also triple digit APRs, just keep in mind that total value locked is very low. So we don't have the best possible metrics to justify these APRs. But if you're going to be depositing here, understand smart contract risks, little less known platform, just under 10 million in total value locked, with volumes just under 60 million. And let's finish up with testnets. So if you've not done anything on SUI testnets before, you're going to need some testnet tokens. Faucet.sui.io is the place to go. Now, from Seal, we've covered this in the last video. It is a new way to encrypt data on SUI, and it's supposed to be much more efficient and UI friendly and developer friendly. So if you want to play around with some of these Seal example apps, here is one that you can use. This is basically a tool that will allow you to create an allow list, and it is essentially going to be, I imagine, a distribution tool. However, this is just something to do, and this is going to be reset every time a new epoch on Walrus starts. So if you're getting SUI testnet PTSD, I completely understand you. And once you've created your allow list, you'll be able to manage it and add some pictures to it just to store it on the Walrus storage solution. And of course, ICA is one of these other dApps you should definitely keep an eye out in SUI ecosystem. We've already covered it in much detail in the last SUI update, but for now, we will just mention that they've received an additional round of funding, $21 million to be exact, and their ICA NFT, so the Squid NFT, has rocketed 60% in value ever since. If you're planning to do some stuff with this, maybe 92 SUI is not so cheap anymore. However, the price might actually continue appreciating. Not financial advice, but this MF Squid market is definitely something you should keep an eye out for. And lastly, we have Talentum project. This is basically a platform which you can do some tasks for certain projects, much like Galaxy, and then hopefully they're going to give you some multipliers if they eventually do an airdrop. And that is a wrap for all the ecosystem updates of one of the top 4 projects we are most bullish on for 2024, alongside Sonic, Eclipse, and Hyperliquid. If you like this kind of content and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe with bell notifications on. Any questions, comments, I'm waiting for you in the comment section below and in our Discord. And as always, thanks for watching and have an amazing day.